In an effort to have my stats read as written, I am recording them. NWEZ.net was an interactive web radio and TV station built on the promise of the new and exciting opportunity the Internet gave unsigned music artists, IJs, also known as Internet DJs, and small business owners. That promise was never realized because of antitrust exemptions granted the established music industry that were placed in a miscellaneous provision of a large act, the DMCA, which was passed by Congress. The music revolution that would naturally have occurred at that point in history, during the infancy of the Internet, was prevented, for the most part, from taking place. While at NWEZ.net, I had 47 show hosts working long hours, doing excellent work, with only the promise of creative freedom and potential for future income. At NWEZ.net, I created, produced, and hosted the Femme Fatale Show. The Femme Fatale Show was a 4-hour weekly online web show. Live with an interactive chat, the show began with an hour of Internet and unsigned artist music news, which I researched and reported. It featured live unsigned artist interviews and performances, which I researched and booked. And it ended with unsigned artist music and music videos, which I screened and selected. It was a lot of work. The Femme Fatale Show predated Facebook and MySpace and occurred during the days of MP3.com, Napster, and the Rosenbergs. During this time, I was an active member of Indie Girl and Music Thoughts, online chat groups formed by Holly Figueroa of Indie Girl and MySpace fame, and Derek Sivers of CD Baby fame. The Femme Fatale Show tied frequently for #1 web show, with shows from Soundbreak.com, a web station funded by millions of investment dollars and run by Mark Goodman, one of the original MTV VJs. I continued hosting the show as I took on more station responsibilities because it was far and away the highest rated show on the station and a model for what we were doing. I started out assistant program director and then became full program director of NWEZ.net. NWEZ.net was a 24/7 web station. When I took over as program director, show hosts were often late or no-showed. I tidied up ship and brought aboard new show hosts that spanned the globe. Our programming went from a weekly 54 hours live, 40 hours reruns, and 74 hours pre-recorded playlist to a weekly 93 hours live, 75 hours reruns, and no pre-recorded playlist. We tripled our audience numbers. President NWEZ.net. I was president of NWEZ.net less than 6 months. During that time, we received more press than the entire 2 years prior. During my tenure, NWEZ.net became the leading voice for independent webcasters. I was personally invited to, and personally did, write testimony for the Senate representing our industry. I was an outspoken advocate for webcasters' rights, which were being trampled, and through my investigative reporting, I was able to get a rep for the RIAA, and if you are unaware of what the RIAA is, it is a lobbying group for the major labels of the music industry. I was able to get that rep to admit everything shady they were doing. I did this working under the premise I was president of a small mom-and-pop station looking for a sweetheart deal. Had I recorded our conversation, the story would have broken nationally. As it were, John Simpson had to formally deny our conversation on the fall list. It made quite a stir, as did some of my Senate testimony. I became the spokesperson for independent webcasters in various public forums and the press, as when I was also invited to join the fall list, an exclusive online chat group at that time containing Michael Robertson, the president of MP3.com, and other VIPs in online entertainment. NWEZ.net could have changed the music landscape and been a profitable venture for me and my former fiancé. Recently, when looking for the link to my Senate testimony, I was happy to see it being referenced by Berkeley. There's a Chicago professor who teaches about the Femme Fatale show in his class on the history of online entertainment. We were groundbreaking and pioneering, and with a free and open marketplace, like we supposedly have, we would have ended up making the money pioneers in their industries make. Instead, the machinations of the powers that be kept the music industry from progressing and forced me into bankruptcy. As an interesting aside, Mark Cuban was one of the people who was supposed to represent webcasters during the DMCA hearing that determined the fate of webcasting. Like the other folks in the room, he took the offer to sell out and make a buck as opposed to do the right thing and end up bankrupt. Don't believe a word he says in relationship to net neutrality, as he owes his fame and fortune to the powers that be and still promotes their agenda from which he continues to profit.